Most dreamers are looking for exciting strategies to change their life overnight. But I submit to you that it's not progress, it's really avoidance, because real progress is built on discipline that feels boring. And the truth is, the things that actually work rarely feel impressive. In this episode, we're talking about some boring disciplines that you've never heard before, never read before, but I'm telling you they produce real growth and meaningful results. What's up, dreamers? I'm so excited to have you here for another episode of the Dream Lifestyle Podcast, where we're here to help you become the leader that your dream life requires. Man, I'm so excited about today's episode because we are talking about boring disciplines that actually work. Because I submit to you that many people, when they think about discipline, they're thinking too low. They're thinking more so about the activity rather than the identity side of discipline. Because when you think about becoming disciplined, it's more about who you are becoming more than it is about what you are simply doing. When you start reframing and reshaping how you approach just becoming disciplined towards this is the kind of person that I want to become, and it's by way of this activity, that is a completely different thing versus let me habit track, let me really just be disciplined in this one area. Because again, if we really want to see change in our lives, it's going to require that we become. If we really want to build effectively, it's going to require that we become. And that's what we're going to be talking about. These are 3 disciplines that you've never heard before, you've never read them, but I promise you they can absolutely change your life so that way you actually get to see some real progress. Okay. So before we get into the episode, if it's your first time here, I'm so thankful for you. And I want to invite you to download the Vision Builder Kit. All right. That is a free resource that we have available here at Craft Your Dream as well. Along with the Vision Builder Kit, I also want to invite you to basically join us, I believe tonight by the time this comes out. But tonight we're having the Builder Lab, and this is a intensive training for dreamers just like you to get your vision, character, and structure in order so that way you can have a successful year, right? And all this is free. You can sign up in the description link below. I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to helping you grow, and I look forward to all of us just really growing and becoming together. All right. So with that all being said, let's dive into today's content. Let's dive in because this is so important when you think about this being a year of breakthrough for you. When you think about this being a year where everything changes, where this being a year where your ministry grows, where your career takes strides, where your business grows at an exponential level, it's going to require that you really lock in on these 3 disciplines. Okay. Now, let me be clear. These disciplines are boring. These disciplines are not attractive. These disciplines may not go viral, but I'm telling you that they will help you become. And if you become, you'll be able to build. And so with these 3 disciplines, I just want you to think about them through the lens of your day to day. When you think about the way you make decisions, the place you're making decisions from, these disciplines will really help you make sure you're making decisions in line with who you are called to be, decisions that are in line with your goals and your dreams. Okay. So the first discipline, the first boring discipline is this, the discipline of no contradiction. This is so key. All right. Now, the discipline of no contradiction is this, the intentional practice of aligning daily decisions with productive beliefs, guiding convictions, and proven principles to reach proclaimed goals. Simply put, this is where you are making a decision, a discipline on a daily basis, moment by moment basis, where you're not going to make any kind of decisions that are out of line with the best version of you. Meaning, I cannot say that I'm a hardworking individual. The best version of me is described as hardworking, but I spend majority of my time playing video games, procrastinating, watching a bunch of Netflix, whatever it is. When I am growing in this discipline of no contradiction, I'm basically saying the decisions that I'm making on a day-to-day basis, they're in line. There's no contradiction between what I'm doing and who I claim to be or what I'm claiming to build, whatever it is. I want to make sure that my decisions are simply in line. And so when we think about this idea of no contradiction, for many of us, we don't have a faith problem because we know exactly who we're called to be. We know exactly what we're called to build. The issue is we have a works problem. We have an issue with actually taking what we're in faith for. And then when we're actually in the situation to make the decision by faith, we end up falling into fear. We end up procrastinating. We end up overanalyzing, and we fall into all these traps, we want to improve the discipline of no contradiction, where regardless of how I feel, regardless of what I think, if I claim I'm at this level, then I'm going to make decisions like I'm at this level. And that is the discipline of no contradiction. So there's 3 key areas I don't want us to contradict when you think about building this boring discipline. Okay. The first thing we're not going to contradict is your prayers. Oh my goodness. Please hear me when I say this. Do not contradict your own prayers. Meaning if you are praying that God gives you more clients for your business, you're like, God, I pray that you increase our client base this quarter, this month, whatever it is. And then he puts it on your heart to start DMing people about an offer that you have. But because you're afraid of DMing strangers, because you're afraid of what they're going to think of when you introduce them to your business or offer them whatever it is that you're doing, you're like, oh, I don't want to do it that way. Like, that's contradiction. You saying that you're praying for more clients. God tells you, well, here's how you go get them. But then you're like, no, I don't want to do that. That's contradiction. You cannot say that, I'm in faith for a significant other. But then when he says, hey, send a DM, hey, do it this way, whatever it is, but you make a decision that is contradicting what he's instructing you to do. That is contradiction. We don't want to live a life of contradiction. We cannot say one thing one way and then we do another. If we want to live a life of progress, we are never going to contradict our own prayers. If you've been praying for something and it shows up at your front door, have enough faith to open the door. If I had to go biblical, if I got, as a pastor, I got to go biblical. When you think about when Peter and all his friends, or Peter was in prison and his friends, they were in a room praying that he would get free. He ended up getting free. An angel got him free, and he walks to the door where they're praying for him, and he knocks on the door, and he is the answer to the very prayer that they've been praying, and they don't go answer the door because they could not believe it. Like, they literally prayed, Peter, get free. Peter shows up at the door because he got free as an answer to their prayer, and they say, no, it can't be them. We're not opening the door. That is a contradiction to your prayers. And again, if we're going to build, if we're going to be effective while we build, we're not going to contradict our prayers. Now, the second thing we're not going to contradict is not only our prayers, we're not going to contradict our plans. Now, let me be specific here, because there's a difference between contradicting plans and adjusting plans. If you've put in place a plan and a strategy to achieve something, a plan and a strategy, so that way you can be effective and grow, whatever it is, the contradicting thought would be, okay, hey, I'm not going to do it because I can find another time. Whereas adjusting is, hey, like, there's something that is out of my control that's stopping me. A contradicting decision to your plans is like, I could very well do this. I am just choosing not to due to procrastination, fear, whatever the thing is. So let me give you an easy example of this. Let's say there's a really good book that you know is going to give you the answers that you need to build, but you decide to plan it out where, hey, I'm going to read 1 chapter a night. Well, the contradicting decision would be to not actually follow through on reading the chapter per night, because you said you were going to read 1 chapter per night, but you made the personal decision on your own to not actually follow through on that plan. That's a contradictory decision. You might as well have said, I'll get to it when I get to it. You might as well have said, I'm not actually going to prioritize reading the book. But don't go saying I'm prioritizing reading and things like that. But then when it's actually time for you to read, you say, oh no, I want to watch more Netflix. Oh no, I want to scroll, or whatever it is. Like, don't contradict your own plans. If you put in place a plan, follow through on it. See it through. There's too many of us who create a plan. We don't follow through on the plan, but then we count the plan as a failure when we didn't do our part. See, if you're going to build effectively and we're going to follow this discipline of no contradiction, I'm going to not only create the plan, set the goal, but I'm also going to follow through. So that way, whatever result I get is actual data. It's actual information that I can then learn from and grow from. But I'm not going to inflate whether or not the plan was good or put the onus on the plan just because I didn't do my part. So do not contradict your own plans. And then the last thing is, don't contradict your principles. Like, don't contradict your principles. Like, for example, one of my guiding principles that I am very, very ruthless about, I'd say that intentionally, is that I do not allow my emotions to get wrapped up in people's repeated actions. Meaning, if someone is repeatedly annoying, if someone is repeatedly condescending, if someone is repeatedly fill in the blank, whatever it is, I'm not allowing my emotions to get into it. meaning this person is clearly who they are. Like, and them changing is between them and God. And I'm going to pray for them, but I don't need my emotions to get wrapped up into it. And so for me, using that example, a contradicting decision would be every time someone who is consistent in their actions, I allow my emotions to get involved. And now I'm basically just going up and down with people who are consistently annoying, consistently condescending, consistently lying, consistently emotional, whatever it is. But I'm allowing my emotions to go on that roller coaster with them. But my principle says I'm not doing that. So if I'm going to honor my principles and not contradict them, I'm basically just going to follow what I have determined to be a principle, all right? A principle of honesty, a principle, a core value of integrity, a core value of faith. And I'm not going to allow myself to say, oh, I'm a man by faith, but in my day-to-day living, I'm living by fear, I'm living by doubt and all these things. I'm not going to contradict my principles. That's what it means to simply live with the discipline of no contradiction, okay? We're not going to contradict our prayers, our plans, and our principles. The second discipline that is extremely boring, but it's super effective, is the discipline of willingness. The discipline of willingness simply is the intentional practice of doing what is necessary beyond fear and insecurity to meet the demands of success without compromising integrity. You know, one of the greatest things that I learned, and it's super simple, but there is a difference between becoming more disciplined and becoming the level of discipline you need to succeed. Meaning, if whatever goal I have, if I need to increase my discipline by 10, right? Just as an example, if I need to increase my discipline by 10, but I only increase my discipline by 5, I technically got more disciplined, but I did not get disciplined to the level at which that will get me the result I'd like to see. And so when it comes to this idea of the boring discipline of willingness, I am going to do whatever is necessary. I'm going to develop in whatever area is necessary for me to see the result, not just so that way I feel better about myself. Because again, if we're going to build, if we're going to become, it's going to require that we get results. Not just that we got better, that we got results by way of getting better. And so our goal, our focus, if we want to truly basically operate with this level of willingness, a discipline of willingness, it simply means I'm always going to do things at the level necessary that's going to produce for me a result. If that means I'm going to post a certain amount of content, then hey, that's what I'm going to do. There is no backing down. There is no, well, I'm only comfortable with this. No, if that's what it takes, then that's what I'm going to do. If it means that I need to start waking up earlier, okay, if success dictates I need to be up at 5 a.m., then hey, 5:30 is not going to cut it because I'm willing to do what I need to do while maintaining my integrity. I'm not changing who I am, but I'm willing to do whatever's necessary for me to achieve this goal because this goal is important to me and it's going to make an impact. And so how do we actually build and grow ourselves in this boring discipline? The way we do it, number one, is that we focus on results. We don't focus on our own preferences. We don't focus on our own insecurities and fears so much. No, I'm focused on, hey, you're telling me if I do this, I'll be able to do that. If I do this, somebody else will be able to do that. If I do my part, this will be able to happen. That is focusing on the result where, hey, I get it. The thing that you may be needing to do may be scary. It may be foreign. It may be new. I get it. But there's a difference between, hey, yes, this is scary and new, but I'm going to do it despite how I feel about it so I can see this result that really matters. Versus, oh, I'm really afraid and this is touching on an insecurity of mine. And so I'm going to focus more on that. And it's going to cause me to stay stuck in the decision-making process. The discipline of willingness is basically you saying, I'm going to do whatever I have to do. I'm willing to go the distance. Okay, so I'm going to focus on results. The second thing that we're going to focus on is that we're going to focus on impact. Simple. We're going to focus on impact. Like I'm going to focus on as a result of me achieving this thing. Here's what will be impacted. Here's what will be changed. Here's what will be improved as a result of me sacrificing, as a result of me facing my own fears. And so for me, you know, this honestly, I mean, even what you're watching now was something that I developed the discipline of willingness for. When I first started posting content in 2019, oh my God, I didn't like my voice. I didn't think I made any sense. I feel like I talk too fast. I feel like I had so many fears and insecurities just concerning building a business and posting content and all these things. And it all boiled down to fear. What are people going to think of me? And oh my gosh, what if they're going to talk about me and all these things? That was literally the narrative I was telling myself each and every video I posted. And there was something in me as a result of my focus on the results I'd like to see and the impact I wanted to make, like that just said, hey, I can acknowledge that I'm afraid to post this content, but the impact that is possible as a result of me facing my fear is much greater than me bowing down to this fear. And for me, man, there's so many stories, man. There's so many stories of just this podcast alone that have just blessed me in so many ways, of just me basically presenting to the world my thoughts, me presenting to the world just my own stories, and not to be motivational, but to truly challenge and teach and empower, to where there were so many people. I remember one lady, she came up to me, and this was at a point where I was getting ready to quit. I was like, man, I'm not seeing the results. I feel like this isn't working. And I'm like doing all the things that, to the best of my ability, I'm maximizing everything I know and everything I have. And I remember this lady, she came up to me, and she was in a battle with cancer. And she told me that this podcast really helped her keep fighting. And, when you think about just impact, yes, of course, I would love to see there be thousands of views and all the things, and that's great. But those are the kinds of stories that I keep with me. And that's only one of many. Like, those are the kinds of things that when you're told as a result of you facing your own fears and overcoming insecurities and just walking in what you're supposed to, that's the kind of impact that happens, you become willing to do whatever you need to do to simply walk out your call. Like, I think about, again, it's about the one. Like, that's at least quick nugget for all the content creators. Like, just the one. Who's the one person you can impact as a result of your decision to face yourself? Who's the one person's life that you can change and improve and encourage and empower just because you decided to face your biggest fears? So now you've empowered them to face theirs. Like, that's what it looks like to focus on impact and focus on results and not your own fear. So that's why we're going to focus on building this boring discipline of willingness that simply says, I'm not willing to just get better at a thing. I'm willing to go get as good as I need to so I can see the result, so that way I can have the impact that I've been designed to make. So that's the discipline of willingness. And now the third discipline is this, the discipline of transparency. The boring discipline of transparency. And this simply is the intentional practice of refusing self-deception by being honest about your current position, mindset, challenges, and calling without shame and without excuses, so you can take the right next step. I have conversations with a lot of dreamers and a lot of builders. And one of the things that I just see as a trend is that there is a fear towards actually admitting where you actually are. And I submit to you that the moment you get comfortable with just being transparent with yourself concerning you building your dream, be transparent about the fact you're not as productive as you should be. Be transparent about the fact that you're not doing all that you could be. Be transparent about the fact you're not working as hard as you should. The moment you become transparent about that, you will actually see progress. But if you keep living this life, if you keep living your life in this place of delusion, you're not going to build anything. You're going to feel like you're further ahead than you actually are. And so this discipline of transparency just says, at no moment in time am I going to inflate the numbers of my business. In no moment in time am I going to act like ministry is going better than it actually is. In no point in time. Now, again, there's a difference between keeping certain things private. I'm not telling you to tell everyone your business. But when you think about just the conversations you have with yourself, the way you audit yourself and your own progress as you build, do not deceive yourself as if you're doing more than you actually are. Be honest with yourself and saying, man, I'm posting a lot of content, but I'm not seeing many leads. Hey, I'm coming up with a whole lot of offers, but I'm not seeing the results. Like, this is what it means to have the discipline of transparency. And so how do we develop this discipline of transparency? The first thing is that you just have to stop people pleasing. Like, I know that sounds like maybe a bigger task, and we can maybe do a whole episode on how to stop that. But in general, stop people pleasing. Stop focusing on what they think of you, because unless they actually have they're a stakeholder in what you're trying to build, their opinion doesn't matter. Unless they've been called to help you build, or you've been called to help them build, their opinion doesn't matter. Can you imagine if Noah was building the ark and he allowed his neighbors to dictate how he built the ark and the pace at which he built the ark? Can you imagine? It would have never been built. So if we're going to build with transparency, I'm going to not focus on people pleasing. I don't need anyone else's approval. Yes, I need wise counsel, and you need a success model, and you need a collaborator, and you need an apprentice. But in general, I'm not doing what I'm doing to please other people. I'm doing what I'm doing so I can impact those I've been called to. So this discipline of transparency starts with, I'm not people pleasing, but it also starts with taking extreme ownership. Like, taking extreme ownership concerning what you're thinking about, taking extreme ownership over what you're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. Are you as busy as you say you are? If not, then you need to actually either stop saying you're as busy as you are, or you need to kick it in high gear and actually just match your words with what you're doing. So you need to take extreme ownership. It's so easy to think, oh, well, the economy is why my money is looking funny. And this situation and that situation is what. No, take extreme ownership over your life. It is your personal responsibility to become successful. It's nobody else. Nobody else is going to do it for you. But that's why you have to take ownership over the way you become. You have to take ownership over the way you build. And the moment you do that, you will be free. You will be empowered. You will feel good about yourself. And when you start allowing yourself to live in that space, you're going to see real progress and impact from your life. And that's why you want to lead with transparency. Have the discipline of it. All right. And then the way in which we're going to do this is simply just accept your call to build. Accept your call. Like, I know for a lot of us, I'm turning 30 by the time you hear this, which is just, man, like, accept your call. Stop trying to hold on to an older version of you. Stop trying to hold on to the version of you that your friends know. Stop trying to hold on to this former version of who you used to be. Be who you've been called to be. Be who God has designed you to be. Stop looking for people's approval. Stop trying to act cool and look cool to other people. Accept your call. Be who God has called you to be. And that is what will help you with this discipline of transparency, where I'm not looking for anybody's approval, but I have no problem walking in any room, in any space, being who God called me to be, because I know that version is effective and that version is enough. Simple and plain. And so that is how you're going to be able to walk in this discipline of transparency. Okay, so now let's go over just our recap. All right, of everything that we learned today. All right, the first boring discipline is the discipline of no contradiction. Okay, basically saying I'm not going to make any decisions that are out of line with the best version of me. The second boring discipline is the discipline of willingness, meaning I'm not only willing to get better, I am willing to become as good as necessary to see the result I'd like to see. And the third boring discipline is the discipline of transparency, meaning I'm not going to self-deceive myself into thinking that I'm better than what I actually am, or that I'm doing more than I actually am doing. I am going to be transparent with myself. I'm going to accept my call. I'm going to accept who I am, and I'm going to live from that place. And so I pray that this episode provided value to you. I pray that this episode freed you. I pray that this episode gave you some practical, just more than a tip, but just real steps, so that you can start today when you listen to this, so that way you can truly build what you've been called to build. These disciplines I know will help you become, because they help me become. They help me become the version of me that I am today. And I know that these disciplines will help me become the version that even, my biggest goals and dreams require. And I'm really excited about that. And so I pray that you join me on this journey of simply becoming and building. And so with that being said, like I said, if this provided value to you, do me a favor. I want you to share this link to this episode with one other person. Now, why is that important? This is something that I know I'm called to do. I love helping people like you, and it would really go a long way just to basically put this episode out in front of people who have dreams, in front of people who know that they've been called to more, and they've been asking themselves, how do I do it? And I want this platform to be a space for those kind of individuals to say, I can do it. but then they can also be equipped to go out and make it happen. And so by you helping me, by just sharing this link with someone that you know, it goes a long way so we can reach every single person that we're supposed to. All right. I appreciate you. Again, download the Vision Builder Kit, sign up for the Builder Lab that's happening tonight, I believe. But always remember, your dream is possible as long as you're willing to grow for it.